Hey everyone, we are coming to you live with a special event tonight between IgniteDDS and Dental Nachos. My name is Kevin Henry. I serve on the IgniteDA side along with my partner, Dr. David Rice. But tonight I'm taking off that hat and I'm putting on my editor-in-chief for drbicuspid.com hat as I serve as the moderator between Dr. David Rice and Dr. Paul Goodman. So Dave, why don't you kick things off, man?
Sure. Hey, buddy. Welcome. It's good. Paul, it's good to see you, not live. Where were we last time? Were we in the state of Washington or were we in?
We're in Portland for the ASDA event.
Yeah, we were in Portland for ASDA, so it's probably not a place we'd want to be hanging out right this moment, apparently.
Yeah, they have the longest it's like dentistry's been grounded like me as a kid, and they right now have the longest grounding. So
yeah, we're all in timeout now. How's Philadelphia? What's going on by you?
It's I live in Center City, so it's just like this, and we are the M. Night Shyamalan, the maker of the director of The Sixth Sense. Feels like he's used his horror movie powers on the city, because it's just this weird, eerie feeling of nice weather, but no one really outside as they're not supposed to be. If you do walk to get food or something like that, there's so far people are really doing a good job, I think, with social distancing in Philadelphia. Seems like kind of a city. We have a lot of Eagles fans who don't follow directions, but so far it seems like the city's been on board with it so far.
That's pretty impressive, right? Because you guys have a legit prison in the stadium there.
Yes.
So.
I know, yeah, exactly. They have a judge. They bring the judge to the court. So, but yeah, so far it's just very, very strange to walk out of your door and usually see so much commotion and action and have it just kind of be eerily calm. But I'm all for it if we kind of do this now and hopefully get a better outcome or quicker back to life and dentisting.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kev, what's happening in your neck of the woods?
So I'm North Colorado, and we are on our first day of the shelter in place, stay at home, do not pass go, collect $200 thing. But of course, beautiful day out today. We're in the mid 60s. So looking outside, there's folks exercising out there, keeping their distance. But how about in Florida?
Florida's not bad. I'm glad I escaped Buffalo and didn't get stuck there. That would have been a bit of a nightmare. So happy to be down south, getting a little bit of a suntan, but working from home. And I don't know about you, Paul, but I feel like I don't know when I had time to be a dentist. I feel like I'm working like 14-hour days.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, I probably like you. I wanted to do like some CE and bring dentists together and be nice, but now I'm like running a news network, which is like, it kind of is an interesting commentary on where we are as people, but especially dentists, because just getting information out on this to the dental community is so challenging. And there's so many good people doing it like you and other Facebook groups, but a lot of this is just getting talked about in these, giant 20,000 member chat groups, which I run, which is mainly good, but I've had to do more refereeing than normal. And it's now I have like I actually have one of my things is JBN, which is just be nice, which is like, hey, if you're arguing about PPO versus fee for service, you don't have to act like the other person's an idiot, or, an implant versus saving a tooth. But we changed this to for the coronavirus, JBR, just be real. And, I tell people, like, you're not getting a second chance. If you think you're going to say it and it's not nice, just don't say it. So, it's been great, but really interesting, because I think the activity on the group is like double what it normally is. So,
yeah.
Well, let's start there, Paul. What are some of the main things that you're hearing on the nachos side? And then I'm going to be asking Dave the same side of things, concerns, questions, big things like that. They're really hot topics there.
I mean, I liken it to, I got a chance to work with my dad for many years, which was awesome. We were close, great mentor, great dad. Unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but I work with my brother now. And we got along about everything in our dental practices. We were great colleagues, great friends, occasionally small friction, but no big thing except one issue, and it was snow in New Jersey. So I'm going to use this example because my dad was the type of guy who would say, let's see what happens when we wake up in the morning. But we have 57 patients, we have 14 team members, and that system was a bad one, because if it was snowing, we'd have to start texting and this and that. So I said, Dad, the only thing we can do is exactly what the weather says. So if it says it's going to snow 7 inches and it doesn't snow 7 inches, great. Nobody gets hurt. We just have a day off. But if it does, we're prepared. So I feel like we're in this invisible snowstorm, and people are asking, how many inches is this going to snow? What are we going to do? But with this crazy twist where dentistry has been canceled like your favorite TV show. I mean, this has never happened before. So I've been on some different broadcasts and lives, and David probably can understand in the dental mindset. But right now, the people are asking for what's next, but we don't know what's next, right? When do we go back to dentistting? What is it going to look like? How expensive it's going to be? Dentists are good at projecting into the future. I say, I'm trying to live one day, 1 week, 1 month, but I'm basically getting a lot of content, a lot of talk about what's happening next, stuff with the bills, employees, all stuff that we should be talking about, and how can we open up our offices safely again? What are you hearing, David?
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing the same. And I'll tell you, a lot we hear too is we're getting a lot of residents chime in on our side, and they're talking about, and as well as associates, hey, I'm still being asked to come to work.
I had that. Yeah, I'll tell you about Nacho Batman after that, but yes, I had that.
I like now, we were playing Batman and Robin earlier today. I don't know how appropriate it was, but it was via computer, so I think we were all safe. But yeah, I mean, there's still, I think, a fair amount of folks out there who are just firing up handpieces and doing all the things that maybe could be done a little bit less. Let's just say that.
Dennis is just, first of all, I'm a fairly opinionated person. I try to be someone, though, who calls for safety. And my message the entire time, and I was able to interview the ADA last Monday early because I was typing all over the weekend and saying, hey, I'm shutting my office down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm being cautious. I'm being extra cautious and seeing what happens. And people saying, Paul, you keep forcing people to close their offices. So first of all, I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. I'm just sort of like I'm trying to be like a good captain of a sports team and say, hey, if we're all asked to get in line, my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and this is the way I put this. She works so hard to get 20 people in line. And if 3 people go out of line, the other people in line say, I don't want to be in line anymore either. And the whole system breaks down. So I've been trying. I mean, my message is, stay home, stay safe, stop the spread, and wait for more info. And I know we'll get a chance to dig into this, but part of me feels like we're going to have 2 parts to our life, AC and BC, before coronavirus and after coronavirus. But then also the rational part of my brain is, this is just day 11 of this, right? It's not day 110. It's not year 1. And I think dentists just have to, I know it's hard, people and dentists, but we still are 11 days into this, and I'm trying my best to just be open-minded to new information.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cap.
Well, Paul, and I love that, AC, BC type of mentality there. And I know that there are some people out there that aren't wanting to, quote, predict what dentistry is going to look like whenever this is all over. And I find that that's really interesting. Is there a thought that you've got about how this is going to change our profession?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that's responsible because, first of all, I love sports. I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl, but some people thought that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to win. And then other commentators thought the 49ers were going to win. They never go back to those 49er commentators and be like, you were wrong, buddy, because no, that's their life. They take information and they make predictions and they share their thoughts. And I mean, I'm happy to do that in a couple ways, because while I am focused on today, tomorrow, I'm kind of have this next day, next week, next month thing, it's still responsible, like a large treatment plan, David, right? To think what might happen. And I think dentistry has to focus on only one thing. I mean, the one thing is, what type of PPE do dentists and teams need to use, coupled with what do offices have to do to reopen our offices safely? I think we're in a unique position where they will open up my favorite Mexican restaurant. They will open up a hair salon. Eventually the NBA will go back, but dentists are in this unique position of being, our whole life is the opposite of social distancing. I mean, we're 6 inches away from each other. And I think right now OSHA and the CDC, they're just rightfully so distracted. And they're going to have to make some guidelines for dentists to open up their offices. And my prediction is we're going to see some significant changes in what we have to do to reopen safely.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. I would not be surprised if, the whole HVAC world of dentistry, we're going to become besties.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, right? We've got a great sprinkler going in every single treatment room of our practice. It's throwing droplets everywhere. So we can get to our countertops. That's nice. We can get to each other. If we can get masks ever that will actually protect us, that will also be nice. Rapid testing is pretty cool. I'm sure you're following, that process. I think that at least gave me some hope that we may not be the last kids in your wife's class, to actually get inside the classroom. hopefully we'll get in, maybe a little recreation time, but I want to get back in class a little bit. So, but no, yeah, we're going to have to spend some dollars. We're going to have to spend some time. Hopefully it's going to be a lot like other things in the past. It doesn't all have to be done at one time. There's this grace period that occurs. I'm sure people will be rational. I think the bigger question, in addition to like the things we need to do, is what's the emotional response of all of our patients?
I was just going to say that's such a good point. I think a lot, like I've seen a lot of I had honor seeing you speak at the ASDA event. And we talk about a lot of the same things. So right now, dentists are like, I'm going to go back with my team, but will the patient show up? And do they have I'm a big word person. We don't have to say a tooth needs to be saved like Private Ryan. Why don't we say maintained? Or, should we call a teeth a virgin? It's just a really weird term to say out loud to a 75-year-old. So in my world, people say you're spreading fear, Paul, or someone's spreading fear. And I say, that's not a fair way to say it. It's responsible concern, right? Patients are going to have responsible concerns about what happens when they go anywhere after this.
Totally.
The office, the restaurant, to their dental office. And I know we live this world. So we're talking about dentist and assistant, but how do we get these patients to feel comfortable? And what's the risk factor for a 75-year-old versus a 30-year-old, the aerosol, this. And I have one thing to say, David, that I think you would appreciate. When you're working in your operatory, and you're the dental assistant world, Kevin.
Yep.
So dentist is working on a class 2 with his assistant. It's going probably terribly. You're sweating on the inside. And you feel someone over your shoulder. And you hope it's your hygienist rolling their eyes for a check. That's NBD, no big deal. But when you see your front desk person, not once in my entire career has somebody walked in from the front desk while I've been doing a procedure with good news. They never said, you're funny and handsome, just want to let you know. We have a system in our office, and this is our system. You walk in and you put a Post-it down on like a countertop away from the dentist, and that just is the sign that you need to come out and deal with something, right? Next case is off. But my reason I'm saying this is the front desk going to wear masks when they walk into the room? I mean, the whole thing gets very, very complicated because we're all breathing in the same air. And my hope is that we just have smart people caring about this for us, because we are important. What we do is important. I'm a big fan of that play Hamilton. And when they're making all these rules and regulations for the country, on one hand, we say it's dangerous to go to the dentist, but then what happens when people have a serious dental problem, right? I mean, if we just break it down to serious dental problems, they need to be taken care of. And we now are like weirdly handcuffed in this. So I don't know what you think, David, if that's sort of in line with your thinking.
It's totally in line. And I think we all just need to stop, take a deep breath and think. I mean, the coolest part of dentistry is they're like all of you're smart people. Yeah. You didn't get to this place without going through a lot of school. You had to get good grades to get there. You can rationalize. You have a good systemic approach. That's how we treatment plan. So apply the rules, right? So in the beginning, when there's still a lot of unknowns, there's a great comment here. Mona, awesome, love this. Was what's the reception area look like? I don't know. Maybe it's virtual. Maybe our patients tend to sit in their car in the parking lot a little bit longer, so we don't have, if you have a bigger practice that tends to see higher volume, if that's your jam, then maybe our patients maybe it's a text message like, hey, Kevin, we're ready. Come back. Yeah. We're going to have to make some on the fly shifts until we have this whole thing figured out. But
I agree. One of the things, Kevin, I don't know if you guys ever run, I think you might have, if you ever run a live CE course, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 dentists in a room, right? So people tell me, Paul, why don't we just let dentists make good decisions? Okay. Well, I've had to threaten somebody carrying 4 scones. If they don't sit back down, I'm not giving them the CE code, because you've been in the room of dentists. It's a bunch of kings and queens like Game of Thrones. So I think at this one time, we got to act like a team and be team players and kind of listen as a group and look like we are trying our best to figure this out as a team. And I think this is, you and I talk about this a lot, David. It's hard for dentists to do this because we've never done this before. We, by and large, work by ourselves in caves. Thanks to Eric Cornelius for saying that. And now, one of the things, even to backtrack to you, Kevin, like I'm in Philadelphia. I know that there's some dentist in some corner of South Philadelphia that hasn't been on Facebook and hasn't gotten any emails and doesn't even know that they're not supposed to be seeing patients. Maybe their team is telling them. So the ability to communicate through this, I just think we need to develop a system for dentistry, team and dentist, to get this information to each other quickly, or else we're at jeopardy of not being able to open again anytime soon.
Totally.
And part of the whole AC is that maybe you can shift some of the things that weren't so great in your practice before, some of the systems, some of the procedures, whatever it might be, and implement those differently after all of this. Again, gain team input and everything else, but it's a chance to almost hit a reset button. And I think that's part of the mentality that needs to be out there too.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, totally. You know, so another good question came in was talking about like office design. What about the practices like Ortho and Peter that's just one big giant open, you know, I don't know exactly where it's going to go. We're going to have to make some changes to that, but I look at it like just generationally. Look at what Google did, right? So that's the big concept. Everything's open. And that's how the average millennial thinks, right? We're open, we collaborate, we want to do this, but Gen Z is knocking on our door and that's not their jam. Their gig's different. So we're going to have to look at our practice and our layout, and that's going to have to slowly evolve if that's your practice.
I mean, we have a high volume-ish practice for the size place we have. We're kind of like a busy, smallish restaurant physically. And, you know, just to have all these people in one space, we're going to have to remanage that. And I just think we're just need to be really open-minded. I think I'm going to say this, and I know some people think it's negative, but it's not meant to be negative. It's meant to be this. There's something that blows my mind as an individual. It blows my mind that people used to be able to smoke on an airplane, but that was normal. So we're doing something right now that's abnormal, right? But our kids are going to say, I don't know, my daughter will say, I can't believe you text. We send holograms. You're so old, Dad, right? But that smoking on an airplane thing is part of my BCAC thing, where I just have this sense there's going to be some transformation of the dental space like you talked about, David. Just my concern is how quickly can this be managed in a dental space? Because we do have this, we're not hospitals, right? Can't just come in and there's 180 rooms and they just add, you know, this would be nice to add. Everyone has to have an almost drank bottle of Old Elk in their room. We're done, right? You know, so I always have one of my drinks on my podcast. See, I start a project, I got to finish it, right? I'm not a quitter, but that's my concern is we're not all in this central area to make these changes. And it's like the Oprah, you get a CBCT, you get a CBCT, you get a CBCT. This might be the time where the cost to do it in every single little practice is going to be hard to do.
No, I totally agree with that. However, you know, I don't know, my life's experience has been this. I'm not sure what your guys has been, but it's the little nagging things I think that kill us.
Totally.
Big, huge, nasty things like we're going through right now. I don't know. I think we tend to rally as people. Yeah. We tend to come together. Even, you know, there have been a lot of times, Paul, you've done it, I've done it, Kevin, we've done it, where we sat back, we were like pulling our hair out like ADA, please do is say the right thing. Yeah. And this time they did.
I agree.
This time they came out and they said, you know what, damn it, we've got a plan. We've got it. We don't like it. We're going to make a lot of people angry, but we're going to stand for what we believe is right. So this is a huge opportunity for us as a profession to come together, even if it's going to take us months and months to disseminate the information, I think.
I totally agree with that. And also, the ADA did a good job in at least connecting with the CDC and OSHA to kindly annoy them, which is my statement. My life is about kindly annoying people. My wife sometimes, Kevin, just regular annoy people, but kindly annoy people. And they're doing that to ask them for guidance. I mean, that's what we need. I mean, right now we're in this no person's dental land of where we're going next. And I think that guidance, you know, is for us, you know, when people are messaging me, just like you guys, what can I do? I'd say, reach out to some of these places and just say, I'm in the dental community. What's the next step for us? It's important for us, because I don't think we can be too complacent about this as they're distracted by the bigger picture.
Yeah. You know, Paul, I'm sure you guys I'm doing this on Nachos, and if I miss it, I apologize. But, you know, so next week we're starting to bring physicians on to a lot of the things we do. And people, because, you know, we need they're in it. They're really in it.
Yeah.
And they could just give us the cold, hard truth, good, bad, ugly, whatever that is, so we're not freaking out. But we're not being unrealistic about expectations.
I'm just a fan, whether it's patient communication or, you know, Earth tilting on its axis like we have here, of hearing the words and saying the words, right? So it's like, just hear from, that's an awesome idea. Just hear from these physicians what they deal with, right? You know, and the N95 mask, I was a resident for multi-year at a hospital. I was fitted for an N95 mask. They were designed where if I was a dental resident and I was called in to see a patient with active tuberculosis, I was supposed to put this mask on so I would not get active tuberculosis, even though I might have had, the tuberculosis vaccine or the thing they do with your arm. So that is serious business, those masks. And they're not just like our dental masks. And that's a whole thing that the dental community needs to learn, because dentists try to solve a problem on the way. They want the solution on the way to the problem very out. What's the answer? What am I doing? Buy the mask. I got the mask. I'm wearing a mask. So you're at your house, So I tell them that, you got to, like you said, take a deep breath and really gather information on this. Because the N95 mask, I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of wearing one. It is not very pleasurable. They are not designed to do dentistry in any way. They're barely designed to stand and exist in, because the way they feel when you're using one is really difficult to do what we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of dental practices out there who have a good infection control game right now. And I think that this is going to ramp everybody, assistants, everybody up. You're going to have to ramp up even more. And again, that's something to be doing now to get ready for what could happen. So Paul, what's the best tip that you're throwing out there about things to be doing now to prepare for the AC time?
Oh, it's good. I have my board, so it all falls into my. So I have the Krebs COVID cycle. You thought the Krebs cycle was annoying. Well, now we have this. So I have this little board here where it all is S words, and it talks about shock, safety, sanity, stress, strategy, and sharing. But in the center, I put small solutions. So all S words for the COVID and small solutions. I think that's my best tip is what small solutions can you do at home, whether it's make a practice Instagram page, connect with your patients, let them know you're there. Something small, right? Teledentistry, explore it. I mean, my brother and I are managing 2 practices. We're getting a lot of phone calls. I did a video on what I think constitutes a true emergency. It's not clinical advice, but how I triage and say, okay, do you have a breathing problem, swallowing problem, facial swelling? No. Okay, now you're in urgency. Pain this, now you're in chronic. And as dental assistants and dentists. So I think it's making a lot of small solutions each day that will add up for you for when you're ready to go back.
Yeah, and you know what? I totally agree. And I would throw in front of that on my side just a big, hairy vision. So each one of those small solutions is bringing you a step closer to that big process. Yeah. And you don't have to have it all figured out. The vision can evolve, it can morph, but have like an end game and have, Paul, I love you speak to systems all the time. So have a system for how you're going to educate with this time. What are you going to do differently with this time? All those little baby steps that you mentioned, have a system for it. Get with your team now. Do this. Get on a Zoom call. Don't call each other on the phone. Don't text. Don't email each other. Get with each other's faces. If almost all of communication is body language, you need to be seeing your team members, because if they're sitting here like this, you're in trouble.
I'm 100% with you. We had a Zoom nacho call at 5, and it's really good. And also, just like what we're doing here, what's amazing, and one of my phrases is do the work while you're doing the work. All this is recorded. You could get it transcribed. I mean, the technology that we have to do this, one of the things that I'm trying to do this weekend is do patient communication and practice transitions in light of this coronavirus. I don't have the answers, but I believe that when we go back to dentisting, it's going to be ultra important to have great patient communication skills, because in the best case scenario, we're going to have fewer patients for a while, for whatever reason, because people lost their job and don't have insurance, because people don't want to spend money. I mean, patients will do anything to get out of dental care. I'll say, we need to do an implant. They'll say, it's almost Christmas. I'm like, it's October, Mrs. Smith, right? So we know patients. And in this, I just think when we get back, we just want to maximize the work in a responsible way that we do on patients. And patient communication translates into not just clinical stuff, also how you talk to them about this. Like you said, Kevin, how are we going to explain our infection control procedures? I mean, I think people are going to be asking us a lot of questions they've never asked us before.
Yeah. I would argue for every clinical CE course I took, I probably took 3 on building relationships and communication.
Very smart of you. I had a mentor who said that. Really great ratio.
Yeah, I mean, it's so very important. I mean, I don't care how good these are. If your patients say no, none of that matters, right? So, and that's great advice, Paul. So spend some time now, learn how to speak to your patients. And as importantly, Kevin, you being here, great example, like learn how to communicate with your team and get your teams on board with communication, because one of me is okay, fair to mediocre, but 15 of me at my practice, we're damn strong together, and 14 people to tee it up for me. Like even I can hit a fairway once in a while. So we got to work on team-based communication.
And I think, like you guys are bringing up so many great points, and I love your whole guys' style with what you guys do with Ignite. It's also about leadership is not about having all the right answers. It's about coaching the team. And what I find is dentists are so tough on themselves, and maybe it's because I played so many sports and I won and I lost and we were good and we weren't good. But every time I showed up for basketball or baseball or anything, I never expected the coach to make us win, right? I just expected the coach to give us insight. And I just think dentists, for some reason, they take a tremendous amount of responsibility for stuff that's out of their control. And maybe this is the time to read some books on it or to take some webinars, because you're going to have to go back and be in a different dental game than you've ever been in. And from a mental stress standpoint, if you take too much responsibility on yourself, that's not going to be good for anybody.
I love that. And you know what, dentists, to that point, I think, and maybe it's just me, so I don't want to speak for anyone else out there, but when I was a younger dentist, I felt like I was supposed to have all the answers. And if I didn't, I was a bad dentist.
I think
it's a bad leader.
It's our toxic dental school training. I would encourage us to ask
Yeah.
more questions. I heard the greatest thing, and I'm really, my stance on the dental student hunger games and how you take a normal person and you ruin their brain. You're like, enjoy 40 years of being crazy now. Sorry we did this to you. But there was an instructor who they were talking about, and it was great. I wish my instructor said this. I'm working on a filling. I'm doing a wax up. I'm doing this. And it wasn't so great. He always said, this is a good start. And I just think I love that language. Instead of my instructor who said, this stinks, it's never going to be good. I'm like, I don't know, it's my first online prep on a fake tooth. I mean, how am I supposed to be good at it? So I think that's a key part of returning to dentistry, not the clinical part, which I think will be easier than dentists think. It's the leadership. It's my brother and I have been, what is the hallmark of being a dental practice owner? How many questions can you answer in a day? Especially ones that have nothing to do with dentistry. One time someone came in and said, Paul, there's a bat in the attic. What should we do? I'm like, I don't know, all the bat people? And I think if you're not used to that, I'm not saying you're not a busy practice owner if you have a small practice, but I just think the amount of questions you're going to have to digest on a daily basis is going to go up.
Yeah, I think great point. Culturally, we've got to go back to our teams, and we have to go with, 3 words like ask, don't tell. Just encourage. Like I said, we got 14 other people in our building. The greatest thing I can do is ask a great question and just stop talking.
Yeah, right.
And by the time it gets back around to me again, I probably have 5 solutions I never thought of in my wildest dreams. And maybe takes even one more loop around the table before we come up with the real solution that we want to run with. But you've surrounded yourself with amazing people. Just get out of their way. Stop talking and get out of their way.
I like it.
Yeah, love it. Kev, thoughts?
Well, I'm checking if you've got any other questions there. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you guys one final one here, and we'll start wrapping up.
Go for it.
So Paul, you said it's kind of day 11 of what we're doing right now. If you could give one homework assignment for day 12 to the dentists out there, what would it be?
Day 12 would be to start to create content that you can repurpose when you get back through Loom or Zoom or any videos. I think we're sitting at home in our sweatpants. I made a bad mistake the other day. I put on jeans. I'm not making that mistake again. What am I going to the prom? That's way too formal. So if you're sitting at home with your sweatpants with this, it's the time to learn something new. And my thing on day 12 is make one good video a day that you can use when you get back for your team. And it could be about patient communication. It could just be, hey, I'm thinking about you and caring about you. And I think if you make one video a day, you'll have this nice library to introduce to your team when you get back.
Day 12.
You know what? I love that. I'm all about the team. So I'll add to it on the other side. Something we talked about earlier this morning. Start calling every single patient that you can. And if you're in a massive practice with 10,000 patients, that's going to be pretty hard. But pick up the phone, try to call 20 people a day, whether it's you, dentist, assistant, hygienist, whoever on the team has the greatest relationship. Let your patients know that you're here. Let your patients know that you're here to help. And just be a listening ear and keep those relationships strong. We will come back. And what you want to do is bat 120% when the doors reopen, whenever that door opens.
I love that, Dave. And I want to just add, because I learned this yesterday myself, most of my teledentistry was just done with my phone and send me a picture and all this. But I've been learning more about my teledentistry platforms from different sponsors and people. And it seems like there's this ability to have a case discussion. Maybe this is easy for you guys to know about. I just didn't do it. Like, you could have a case discussion, and there are patients sitting in your office that want to come back and get that dental care done. And it could be the best way, revenue producing, helping the patients. and you can connect and just say, yeah, when you get back, we're planning your implant overdenture. Let's do this for May or June. And I think that's just uses with both of those things. Use the power of technology, maybe with teledentistry, because maybe that'll be really the what they call the silver bullet, or I don't know if you guys going to get this one, the dragon glass. Does that mean anything to you guys?
All day.
Maybe that'll be the dragon glass of what we're doing, a Game of Thrones reference. So,
Yeah.
Music, man, I tell you, absolutely.
That is good stuff. I love that. Yeah, and measure it, guys. Whatever you do, measure it. That's how you're going to know it's going to work. Hey, Dr. Paul, thanks for chilling with us today.
Great. Time flew by. You guys make me feel more comfortable. Kevin and David, my wife, said you can do this every day at 7 p.m. even if we have no audience, because she said she could use the break. I say a lot of words each day, so we'll meet tomorrow. This will be finished by then, so you can congratulate me. So awesome, guys. Thanks for doing this. I think what you're doing is awesome with Ignite. I always can't wait to see you in person again and meet you in person, David, whenever that's allowed.
Yeah, you too, Paul. You guys have a good one, and thanks for your time. I appreciate you.
See you guys later.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.